You lie quiet, reclining back in a safe place. As the first light of morning slowly brightens beyond your eyelids, allow your thoughts to drift, gently waking with you into a distant place and time. There are no alarms, no rush, only the soft chorus of dawn around you. In a few moments, you will walk beside a young man named Pablo, feeling each moment through his eyes. Let the world slow, each breath long and even as you prepare to step into another's life. You feel the cool morning air on your skin as you open your eyes, and you know that today, this day in the past, something important will begin. You wake up in a small village called Rio Negro, high in the mountains of Antioquia, Colombia. The air is a bit cool on your skin, and the sky outside your window is pale with the sunrise. You remember being born here on December 1st, 1949, the third child among 7 in your family. But for now, you are just a child, stretching into the new day. Your room is plain and humble, with wooden walls and a thin blanket, but the early sun falls golden across the floor. You breathe in the scent of coffee beans, roasting slowly in the kitchen, and you can hear your father, Abel, already whispering out in the fields, tending cattle in the mountains beyond. Your mother, Hemilda, rustles about inside, preparing a small breakfast before she walks the dusty path to teach at the local school. In these first moments of morning, you feel safe, washed in gentle light. A rooster crows once, a distant echo, and you imagine the foothills of the Andes rising above the town, stirring out of sleep just like you. The soil underfoot is cool and soft as you step out of bed, and you can almost taste the warm corn tortillas in the air from your mother's kitchen. Gradually, you come fully awake. Outside, a thin mist lingers in the valley. The dawn light is soft orange, casting long shadows as it filters through tall palms and banana trees. In Rio Negro, the houses are small and clay-colored, green vines climbing their walls. You slip quietly through your simple home to join the others. At the little wooden table in the kitchen, your father picks roasted corn from a clay pot.
After breakfast, you step outside into the slow morning. Dew still clings to the grass, cool against your bare feet. You walk through the tiny compound behind your home. One corrugated roof shelters chickens scratching in the yard. Another covers a wooden cart and some horses. And further back, an old wooden barn smells of hay. The mountains rise sharply just beyond the fence, green with coffee and sugar cane and tropical trees. In the distance, you can see a winding dirt road stretching down toward the valley, where soon a little town will appear, and beyond that the city lights of Medellin will glow by night. But for now, it's quiet here. Just the coo of a distant dove, the buzz of morning insects, and soft chatter from neighbors greeting each other as they begin their day. A few blocks away, you remember later, your family's life would shift. Not long after this morning, you will all move to a crowded suburb called Envigado. The houses there will be closer together and the streets busier. But today, Envigado is just a possibility far off in time. Right now, you are still here in Rio Negro's calm hills. The sky has brightened to pale blue, and the early mist is rising. As you look around, you notice the rough texture of the wooden fence under your palm, the way the morning light dances on the leaves of the avocado trees, and the faint smell of earth and rain from last night's storm. You listen to the chatter of local vendors who have set up a little market not far off. Women selling fresh fruit and plantains, an old man with a wooden cart full of sweet bread, and children skipping stones in a nearby creek. The world around you feels alive but peaceful, each sound clear and gentle, each sight vivid in the new day. You fall into the rhythm of your usual morning. After a final sip of coffee, you step away from the table and begin your small chores. First, you visit the hen house and gather fresh eggs, feeling the downy feathers brush your arms as the chickens cluck softly. Then, you take a moment to pat the coarse fur of an old ox grazing nearby. He licks your hand gently, and you smile at his slow, earthbound, warm breath. Home life is simple. You sweep the dirt path around the house, polish your father's farming machete, and help fill the buckets at the well. The cool water tastes sweet when you drink it. It's nearly time for you to leave for school, and you make sure your small uniform shirt is straight on your shoulders. You feel your mother's eyes on you from the doorway, hopeful and slightly nervous as she always is when you head out the door. Within an hour, you've walked the dusty road into town, hand swinging behind your back as you talk quietly with your oldest brother. You pass by your neighbors, Senor Alvarez selling sugarcane juice from a wooden cart, the old woman in the blue dress waving from her porch, and a clumsy puppy napping in the shade. You often help your sister with her house chores and get to school a bit later than everyone else, which makes your teacher roll her eyes but smile at the same time. At school, you sit at the wooden desk next to a tall classmate and listen to your mother's soft voice at the blackboard. She teaches the very class you are in. You might daydream of grand things even now, but mostly you concentrate on the scratch of chalk on slate and the distant rooster crowing. After morning lessons are over, the children spill into the dusty street, their laughter mixing with the music of a radio someone left on. This is your everyday life, simple and comforting. Chores, school, then home by mid-afternoon. All these routines happen without hurry or drama. You return home for a midday lunch of rice and beans with your family, and perhaps help your father in the field for a while. The sun is now high overhead, warm on your skin. You may take a nap under a guava tree with a book on your chest, or you might run through the fields playing soccer with friends. In those early years, even when you begin sneaking into small schemes, a laughable idea at first, like selling hand-printed diplomas or stolen tombstones, you always come home to the same hearth and familiar faces. By late afternoon, you have helped your father with an errand or two, maybe gathering a mule from a neighbor or helping fix a fence. Soon enough, you wash off the dust of the day under a cold stream of water from the outdoor tap, feeling it rush over your sun-warmed shoulders. As the day wears on, you start to feel the pull of a more restless ambition stirring in you. A sense that life beyond the cornfields is calling. But for now, you play a game of marbles with the other children, letting laughter echo as the day slips by. As your childhood flows on, the first real challenge of life makes itself known. mix of temptation and boredom on a warm afternoon. Perhaps you're 12 or 13 now, tall for your age. The village streets have grown a little quieter as siesta settles over the town. You walk alone by a sunlit pasture near the church, feeling the heat rise from the rough earth. From the corner of your eye, you spy a gleaming marble statue behind an old fence, a tombstone, its inscription faded and cracked. For a moment, a reckless idea flickers through your mind. It said, even to you, that sometimes the daring take these heavy stones, smooth and cool in their hands, and carry them off to sell for a small coin. It's an absurd thought to think of pilfering something from a cemetery, yet your heart hammers at the notion. You set your jaw and slowly lift the base of the tombstone off the ground. It's heavier than you expected, but somehow you manage to ease it onto your shoulder. The sky above seems vast and empty as you carry the stolen piece toward the road. Every step is loud in the stillness. Every breath you take feels daring. You would never imagine doing something like this in front of your family or neighbors, that some part of you is craving excitement, a tiny thrill of defiance. Later, as twilight darkens the sky, you manage to trade the stone at the edge of town, perhaps for a small radio or 24 pesos, which feels like a fortune for a boy of your age. All night long you lie awake in your bunk, heart racing. There's a certain strange pride hiding in your chest, mingling with a whisper of fear that clings to your skin like dew. This small act, furtive and ridiculous to an outsider, marks the first test of your will. You realize something new. The world is full of possibilities and risks, and that you can choose which to walk toward. You try not to let it upset the evening. At dusk, the stars shine overhead, and you join your family outside by a crackling fire. You eat the corn tortillas and beans tasting of smoke and worn limes. You laugh at an old joke your older brother tells, and the sky is indigo and calm once more. But inside, you know you've changed a little. You carry a secret now, one that tastes of risk and power. Yet still, there's love and comfort around you as you drift to sleep, so young and unaware of how far this path might lead. The days pass, and now the world around you grows larger. In the market square, the vendors pack up their stalls under the setting sun, and you mingle with the crowd. You wave at your friend Juan, who helps his father tend store shelves. And you notice the new Coca-Cola crates stacked by the butchers. You are becoming known around town, first as a kid with quick legs, then as a teenager who once played soccer in freshly built community fields. Sometimes you stop by the little rinky-dink plaza to watch traveling musicians or listen to adult men bargaining in low voices about faraway towns. You notice names like Carlos, Fabio, and Juan David whispered under their breaths, older boys whose plans for quick money have already begun to shape the air of this place. You have begun to cross paths with them, for your ambitions and curiosities are like theirs, though you remain cautious. When you speak, your voice has gained a quiet confidence. At home, your mother often chides you gently if she hears profanity, yet outside, you practice a sharper way of talking. In the friendly neighborhood games of hide and seek or soccer, you feel the thrill of competition growing in you. There are nights when you sit on the warm flat rocks by the river with your cousins, swiping tortillas from the campsite cooks and daring each other to swim in the cold currents. Once, as a joke, you helped a friend transport a small smuggled radio set from a truck. just the kind of bit of mischief that feels like a contest against authority. The adrenaline is a heady thing. It lingers in your limbs and sharpens your senses, making the crickets in the grass sound like applause. Your life has become a series of meetings and faces. You are still a local boy, but you begin to see the deep inequality in the villages around you. You watch poor children play barefoot on rubble while a fancy car drives past in the distance, stirring dust. You see politicians on TV, faraway men in suits saying they will fix things, and you wonder how their words could sound so empty. Some nights you feel pride. You and your friends built a tiny brick wall around a pot of flowers in the plaza, making a little corner of beauty. Other nights you feel heaviness, the emptiness of your pocket, the longing to escape this quiet fate. Through it all, you notice the world's great variety: laughter, sorrow, hope, and desperation blend into the air around you. You are still a boy, but already you gather these sensations as if they were coins, each one a lesson about the strange ways people try to get what they need.
As years pass, your world quickens and a rigid new routine takes hold. You leave school to focus entirely on opportunities that put food on the table, realizing your dreams must be earned in other ways, and the morning parfait as a tan's lift end and signs and the contained. The world is the patis ways in so far. Early in the morning, you find yourself on a bus bound for Medellin. The wheels clatter over asphalt while dawn breaks through the windows. The city is waking. Market vendors unpack trucks of produce, street sweepers clean the sidewalks, and you slip through the throngs heading to a small office in Envigado's old town. Here, you meet with allies from other villages, men who used to farm or haul bricks, now gathering to talk quietly of trade and credit. You quickly become proficient at the shuffle of money. By noon, you might be climbing into a plane that takes off from a hidden runway on a billionaire's estate. By afternoon, you walk into a plush house where the richest deals are struck. Even today, you can almost feel the hiss of palm leaves over the airstrip of Hacienda Nápoles, where one time a plane landed carrying millions in cash. You see yourself checking the cargo and helping load it into a waiting car, all while that famous estate, your own mansion of dreams, stands in the distance. I was still from old. This has become your everyday. Deals with thick envelopes of bills, travel under the hot Caribbean sun, and nights spent gazing at chandeliers in a grand hall rather than lanterns by a campfire. In these years, you become known, even whispered about in every corner of Colombia. They call you El Patron, the boss. Others murmur king of cocaine in foreign tongues. Inside Crime later writes that you became a pioneer in industrial-scale cocaine trafficking, overseeing each step of the drug's journey from the coca fields in the Andes to the tables of Americans across the ocean. You often wear your best suit, the fabric warm under the sun as you walk. You smell of leather and tobacco. Your watch ticks a steady rhythm that seems to echo the pulse of money being counted. Even now, you can almost hear the faint hum of a private jet's engine climbing into the blue. At one point, you owned a Learjet just to move cash faster. You remember the day you saw your name on the cover of Forbes magazine, listed among the wealthiest people on earth. It was surreal and almost humorously excessive. You, standing there as a mugshot on those pages, when only yesterday you had been worried how to fix dinner. Life had picked up an astonishing pace. Once a simple boy in the mountains, you were now coordinating shipments that would net your cartel nearly $400 million a week. Yet, even amid all that fast living,
A calm morning could surprise you, a quiet sunrise over your estate, the fall of money unread on a billiard table, and as the afternoon drifts toward evening, the tone of the world begins to shift. The first dark clouds rise on the horizon of your life like an unforeseen storm. The rhythm that once felt steady now quivers under sudden tension. It starts small. A newspaper headline here, a distant murmur there. You hear of scuffles in the halls of power, of officials who are no longer ignoring you. One day, you are driving through the outskirts of Medellin and see flocks of frightened people running from a sudden explosion. The bombing of a public space. Children scream somewhere in the background. In your car, you grimace at the senseless carnage, even as it cements your name in headlines as a ruthless leader. Other days, a crowd lines the streets blocking traffic, chanting quietly against injustice. You catch a glimpse of Rodrigo Lara Bonilla on a TV set, passionately speaking against the drug trade. The very man who made you resign from Congress. You feel both anger and fear when you recall that Rodrigo was later shot in an ambush near town. Nine. The weather reflects your mood. A heat wave bears down one day, sizzling the ground and making the sky waver in blue mirage. You sit by the pool at Hacienda Nápoles, the luxurious estate of your life, feeling sweat bead on your neck despite the fans. As the sun sets, violent thunderstorms break, lightning arcing across the valley and shaking the house. That night, you lie awake on a terrace as rain pelts the windows of La Catedral, the lavish prison you agreed to build for yourself when surrendering to avoid extradition. Even surrounded by opulence, the roll of thunder in the distance shakes you to your core. You grasp at the cool candle glass in your palm, realizing that even here, the storm has found you.
During the soft quiet of early night, you permit yourself the rare luxury of reflection. You sit by a small fire in the courtyard of a country house or within the walls of your personal prison, La Catedral, listening to the crackle of embers and your own breath. Your body, once full of youthful vigor, sometimes feels achy and heavy now. You might lean against a damp, mossy stone wall or recline on a plush outdoor couch, shoulders hunched and eyes distant. In these moments, you feel both very powerful and very small. You know you control fortunes beyond imagining, but you also feel the deep weight of every life that hangs on your choices, the smiles of loved ones and the cries of innocents alike. You remember the taste of cocoa from your childhood kitchen and wonder how something so innocent can coexist with the bitter tang of gunpowder and diesel. You wonder how fast a life can change. One moment you were a boy making eggs for breakfast, and now you count scores of enemies and billions of pesos before lunch. Your mind wanders through memories. You see again the raw country road where you first sold that heavy tombstone. Hear your mother's voice telling you kindness is worth more than money, and you feel a pang of something like regret. You wonder if that younger you, still innocent in so many ways, would recognize this man staring back in the mirror. Though you do not regret helping your family or funding a hospital wing for your old neighborhood, known by all as the Robin Hood of Medellin's poor, you question the cost. Your body is tired in a way that no long journey or fever can cure, an ache in the mind. You stroke the gold of your pocket watch and smile wryly. During the mid-1980s, your cartel was said to earn around $420 million per week, enough to buy dozens of cars and mansions. That absurd figure had once made you laugh hysterically, but now it sometimes sits uneasily in you. On nights like this, you allow yourself a little ironic humor. You think back to that time when you sat down to eat in your dining room, using real gold dinner plates, the same set you somehow brought from another continent. You chuckle softly at how bizarre it was. You, a former teacher's son, clinking silverware on solid gold like some ancient pharaoh. And all the while, outside your windows, hippos lumber through your private zoo, animals as out of place in Colombia as you are in this story. These thoughts bring a slight, self-deprecating smile to your lips. In this calm darkness, there is even space for gentler emotions. Pride that you gave to your children a life better than you had, and gratitude for your wife's quiet support. When you close your eyes to sleep, it is with the softened exhale of someone who has seen too much and discovered that every life, however wild, returns at last to silence.
In the morning light of another new day, you are reminded of the world you both shaped and served. You walk through neighborhoods of Medellin that you helped build. Children you funded now wear your jersey as they play in a stadium you erected. On the street they call out your nickname, and you sometimes stop to sit and talk with common people. You pay for an elderly woman's medicine at a pharmacy or hand out bags of rice to those queuing in the plaza. These moments please you. You tell yourself that a helping hand now and then can balance out even the heaviest parts of your work. Others around the world see this side too. You once won an election to join Colombia's Congress as an alternate member, a brief taste of public service, and perhaps the closest you ever got to a dream you had as a boy to rise above poverty. In 1982, you sat at that long wooden table in the Parliament building, knowing you had the support of poor neighborhoods cheering you on, their faith bolstering your own ambition. Yet for every cheer, there is a silence. When news cameras tried to follow you through a slum you built, the alleys fell quiet except for the distant cry of a child. Men whose fathers had paid bribes now fear you in the shadows. Children who idolize you as patron also whisper about the cost of fear. In some rooms you enter now, people avert their eyes. The society of Medellin is woven of both pride and terror. Your life is evidence of that. You feel it when you pass by the old El Poblado Club, its gates locked to you despite the millions you spent to belong. And you know it deeply whenever you visit La Catedral, the gilded prison of your own making, and sit in a sauna as if it were any ordinary spa, knowing full well that nowhere is entirely out of reach for those who seek. You love your family fiercely. You see your wife, elegant even with worry lines that have formed around her eyes. Your two young children tumble at your feet, and for them you built this strange life, or tried to. You recall a bitter Colombian winter night in 1992 when your daughter could not sleep and the house was cold. You found yourself opening a vault of cash just to feed a roaring fire, burning nearly $2 million in green bills to warm her bed. You remember how her bright eyes stared at the flickering flames of priceless money and went through.
Amid all these scenes, stadium inaugurations, flooded estates, secret meetings, you sometimes wonder which parts of you are real and which are a legend painted by others. You are a man wrestling with too many roles, a father, a husband, a peasant's son, a patron of the poor, and yet hunted by the law at every turn. You have steeled yourself as silver and lead, but in quiet nights you feel the pull of conscience or maybe simply the pain of regret.
As you leave the noisy city streets behind and climb the stairway of another dawn, you whisper to yourself that all your life you have really wanted to be something simple, just needed to be someone who mattered. By midday, as you rest in your private quarters or stroll through the lush gardens of Hacienda Nápoles, the world takes on a dreamy quality. It's like living in the paradox, an absurd dream cradled by reality. You imagine catching your reflection in a still fountain, seeing the same man who once milked cows at sunrise, now dressed in a tailor-made suit and flanked by armed guards. That man in the mirror is you, yet it is almost unbelievable. You recall walking through a public zoo that you funded, where children feed the camels and stroke the long neck of a giraffe. All this happening because, in a strange way, you held the keys to endless cages of wealth. You even named an artificial lake after a place you loved in Italy, as if to remind yourself you could never forget humble origins, no matter how far you flew. The humor of it all surprises you. There were evenings you and your brothers would need to smoke cigars under a hot tropical moon, joking that you were the richest men alive, and yet, at the same time, the most wanted fugitives. Your cocaine empire sprawled like an invisible web around the world, and still you once found yourself worrying where the next meal would come from. Once you even built a public zoo at Nápoles, bringing African hippos into Colombia. Today there are said to be dozens of them roaming in the countryside. You shake your head thinking of those unwitting immigrants, wondering if they reminded you of something out of place in this life of yours. Sometimes, lacing your sneakers at dawn, you realize the absurdity of measuring your legacy in terms of dollar bills tucked under floorboards and ivory trophies in your home. And yet, in these surreal reflections you find a quiet strength. You almost laugh now at young Gabriel Garcia Marquez's famous question, was all this reality, or was it simply magic realism? Here you are, a self-made man in a land of contradictions, a kind of fairy tale character who built airplane graveyards on his estate and taught entire barrios how to play soccer. Sometimes you'd sit by the fire after an opulent feast, champagne in one hand, a gold fork in the other, and listen to your men swap stories about your exploits. You'd smile at their overblown tales, guns in one hand, roses in the other, and remind them all that nobody's a hero who lost their humanity on the way. In your heart, you hold on to the truth that has quietly guided you, that even here, surrounded by absurdity and excess, you remain simply a man with dreams. As the sun sinks low and dusk falls on the horizon, your time draws to an end. You find yourself back in Medellin once more, in that final place where time seems to slow. It is December now, 1993, and you have just celebrated your 44th birthday at a small party. Cake, wine, soft laughter. You recall feeling pleased as the hours passed, playing with your daughter and sipping aged rum with your son on your lap. But long before midnight, you know the calm is only fleeting. The countryside around you has grown quiet. In the adjacent fields, the moonlight lies silver on the leaves of the avocado trees, and somewhere a lone owl calls. Inside, your men have gone silent. Through it all, a strange serenity settles over you. There is a gentle stillness in the air, like the world is holding its breath. Perhaps it is the quiet before the final episode. You have always said you would rather die free on Colombian soil than spend life in a US prison cell. Tonight, those words return to your mind. Better a grave in your homeland than bars abroad. You walk out onto the rooftop of a humble brick house in a narrow Medellin neighborhood, the tiled roof warm underfoot from the day's sun. You are calm as you lean against the chimney, watching distant stars blink above the city. In your hand, you hold the smooth black handle of a radio. Somewhere close by, the sound of helicopters is faint, like cicadas in the night.
Below you, the city is hushed. Sensing something is happening, but not sure what. A few men are in the courtyard, quietly shouting from time to time. You think of everything: the mountains, your family's laughter, the smell of grass in the coffee fields, the chaos of so many years. And for the first time, you feel completely small. Your heart beats softly. A green laser dot suddenly shines on the shingle near your shoe, and you don't even flinch. You remember that song you loved about how the meek will inherit the earth. Maybe it means something here tonight. In one last gentle breath of air, your word is the warm night and the faint scent of tobacco. The chase is suddenly on, but inside you there is only silence. In the same moment, a gunshot cracks across the roof. You were fatally shot on that rooftop in Medellin on December 2nd, 1993. Or so they say. Some insist you slipped quietly into night on your own terms. Either way, as the city lights below you twinkle without witness, you close your eyes. You remember only how peaceful you felt in those last seconds. Free from all pursuit, free at last of fear and responsibility. Now the story of your life gently winds to a close. After you are gone, the world will recall you in countless ways. Some seeing you as a Robin Hood, others as a monster. But here, in this quiet moment of ending, none of that matters. You drift away like smoke in the breeze, leaving behind memories and legends. You hope only that, in the morning to come, those who remember will choose to learn something kind from your tale. Above all, you allow yourself one final, peaceful thought, that wherever you go next, there might be a sunrise as gentle as the one you first knew. And with that soft hope in your heart, you sleep soundly, at last.